When Fallout 3 released back in 2008, I don't think anyone really paid attention to the open world colour scheme, in which consisted of greys and greens, and occasionally orange. It wasn't really until 2010's Fallout New Vegas released that the fanbase complained at how grim Fallout 3's colour palette actually was. Today, I wanted to look into why Fallout 3 looked so depressing. Some of this is my own thoughts and theories, so I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. So it's obvious for starters, the Fallout franchise is based after a nuclear Armageddon, in which pretty much devastated most of the United States in 2077. Now the HD era games, in which I'll be focusing on, take place give or take 200 years after the bombs first dropped. Now Fallout 3 takes place in the remnants of Washington DC and the surrounding area. When I first played Fallout 3 for the first time in early 2010, I saw no problem with the colour palette. I've always wanted to play a post-apocalyptic game that is so desolate and have its open world as close as to what the world would look like after complete annihilation, and to me, Fallout 3 captured that perfectly. All the scorched trees, the non-existent green grass, the rocks that have formed from the heat of the blasts, and the prevailing wind carrying large amounts of dust. It really helps sell that your 19-year-old lone wanderer character should feel intimidated by this world and incredibly isolated. That is how I felt and still feel when I left that vault when I first played back in 2010. But some of the fanbase feel Fallout 3 should have been brighter, greener, with nice clear blue skies. They feel the land and the atmosphere should have recovered by now. Well, here's what I've noticed, and I'm going to try to explain how I've analysed it. Now, Washington DC is the capital of the United States, and in most conflicts, capital cities generally tend to get hit the hardest, so naturally DC was hit harder than any other of the HD era games in the Fallout franchise. It's so bad to the point you have to use the metro system to navigate the city, and yet in Fallout 4 for example, you can still for the most part roam the streets of Boston. As from what we can see, Massachusetts was only hit by one bomb, and because of that, this is why the area of Fallout 3 has not been able to recover after 200 years, as it was hit the hardest. Some players feel it should have had clear blue skies by now, and the constant overcast clouds in the city centre should have been gone also. But let me tell you something, if you leave the inner city and set the game time to afternoon and look straight up, there is a smidge of blue sky in amongst the orange/yellow hue, in which I feel is a more grounded approach, because again, like I aforementioned, DC got hit pretty hard. And as for the city centre and its overcast skies, I'm blaming this on the pollution from the original blast and the constant battles between the Brotherhood of Steel and the super mutants by the Washington Monument, and that big robot blasting its way to Project Purity. That's a lot of added and constant pollution. So that's my analysis on as to why Fallout 3 looks the way it does. I think players look back and find Fallout 3 so depressing to look at now is because of how vastly different New Vegas looked. It also doesn't help that they're both running the same game engine. But we have to remember that to the best of my knowledge, New Vegas managed to avoid having any bombs dropped on it, or the surrounding area, so it looked much more visually pleasant compared to Fallout 3. Of course this would make sense. The city and buildings across the area that are decayed, I would imagine due to the population decrease across the country, no one was around to maintain these places. And as for Fallout 4, like I aforementioned, Boston and its surrounding area was only hit by one bomb, so 200 years later I would certainly not be surprised if the skies manage to clear and new foliage can begin to regrow. But I feel Fallout 4 was glossed up because of the feedback on how good New Vegas looked compared to 3. And of course, New Vegas was developed by Obsidian, so of course naturally Bethesda can't have another studio get praise over them on their own precious IP. But these are just my thoughts and theories I've come up with over my time playing Fallout 3, as well as the other two titles. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I don't confess to know the whole lore surrounding the Fallout universe, as I know it's pretty deep. I just enjoy playing the games and watching the TV show. This is a short video from me for a change, but as usual, I thank you all for your support, and I'll see you all in the next one.